gentlemen, welcome to Extra Vision. I'm your host, eXtine, and well, this week, our very first week, I am joined by Kyle Gizmo Consmo. How's it going, Kyle?
It is going great. How are you, eXtine?
I'm doing real well. I just rolled out of bed a little bit ago. I just got a text from my good boy, Mr. Shedder, and it said, "Are we still doing this morning?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we are doing it this morning." So, no StabbyStabby. I tried to remind him, but I don't know. I guess he overslept as well. There was maybe a little bit of partying going on last night. So,
gotta love those TF tours and their partying.
Well, I was back on air with the Arena Respawn for the first time yesterday with you, Kyle. It's been a bit since I've done some broadcasting and whatnot, and that was a lot of fun. We had some good Arena Respawn.
Yeah, we did. We had a great time last night. Pretty good showing, and we're gonna expand that into next month.
Yeah. You wanna talk about that briefly, and then we got some other stuff to talk about. We'll talk about matchmaking. We'll talk about Highlander's coming up, so we'll talk about Highlander. But tell me a little bit more about June Arena Respawn.
Yeah, so PBL has been doing a Best Coast battle for the past few months, kind of testing it in-house with our own community, and we feel like we're finally ready to bring it out to the rest of the competitive TF2 world if they're interested. So we're going to be doing a tournament the last 2 weeks of June, and it's sponsored by iGames, and they were an awesome group at GXL this last October. But we'll be hosting about 16 teams. I feel like that's our cap right now that we can safely go into, and the prize pool is going to be $250.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. So kind of plans continuing to increase there every month. you guys, I say that. I mean, I've been involved with it, but we kind of have this Arena Respawn Council committee now, and you guys have been putting a lot of effort into bringing some changes to the format. Overall, it's been a lot of fun experimenting with that format. I guess also just kind of to step it back a little bit. This program overall, we're going to go into just kind of TF2 generally. We also probably might talk about some other esports, dabble into some other esports news. But with Team Fortress, a couple years ago when I went and visited Valve and we talked to them about supporting competitive TF2 and some of the things that we wanted to see in the future and some of their feelings about the game. And, it's all real complicated, and I think that some of the stuff that, Sal paraphrased, some of the stuff that Robin said, and some of that stuff got taken kind of the wrong way, and this, perception that Valve hates sixes, and I think the whole thing overall is, Valve really dislikes their weapons not being used, is the issue. And
a lot of time and energy went into developing those. Yeah,
exactly. And I think as well, Kyle was with me at that Power of Play conference, and with that Guild Wars speech, one thing that ties into the whole issue with TF2 is that Valve, wants to spend resources where they're going to get the most out of their resources. So, developing competitive match modes was not their highest priority. I think they're coming around to it more, especially seeing the impact that it's had for Counter-Strike. I mean, just the recent resurgency of Counter-Strike, I think, has definitely tied into the competitive game there, and their support for it. So, but Valve definitely didn't want to distribute those resources, and with everything that was going on and with trying some of these different things, we also, Robin Walker was interested in integrating bans, and some of the weapon ban stuff, that we thought about was kind of tough, or it's just, with the open weapon whitelist, people don't really know what weapons are good, so just banning a few weapons is kind of a little bit tricky to actually go through that process and take a long time. And we tried a few 6v6 pro lander, one of each class. I think we did try 5v5 5CP things, And then, you know, some of that experimentation definitely dropped off. Arena Respawn showed up, and ProBattleLeague showed up. We started collaborating. We started trying a few different things. And Kyle, like, let's see, what did we try? We tried Fours, Koth for a while for sure. Then we tried
the Force Koth. That was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Fours Koth has its high points, but I think it still falters under the same issues that Koth does. And for me, the issue with Koth is that you do, even though you have this like singular point of focus, you do have these downtimes where it kind of just feels like you're just waiting to build overcharge, and it's just kind of a fake
I don't really like that
tempo.
slow pace of the action. And it's sort of like the 3-hour Dota games. Like, you can sit back and wait and wait and wait and then engage and wait and wait and wait. Like, I don't like that. It's really not a good, like you said, tempo for the overall match.
For me, it also just like the point of contention, or the point of like what makes you win a round, is just kind of vague, you know. Like, you could just take out the rounds and play Viaduct for 20 minutes and just be like, who's got the most time on the clock overall, you know? While the mechanic of like, oh, well, the round is ending and there's overtime and we're gonna flip, you know, that's kind of exciting. But the other two, are the other 5 minutes of a round of Highlander, is usually not too excited. Viaduct, Koth is what I meant to say overall. So we did try 5-person 5CP, correct? I'm pretty sure we at least put a couple games on that.
We put a couple in there before we transitioned to AR, yeah. So we went from 4 to 5 because we felt like 5 was a better number overall. But we also digressed back to 4 when we first got into AR, testing that what we thought was a magic number at the time. But you know, eSports has kind of adopted 5 as a team number as a whole everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So we're kind of fitting into a mold there.
Yeah, and I want to say a couple things. I'll whitewash the name of the person involved as well. And let me talk about a little bit more like 5-person 5CP, because definitely that's something that's come around. And I know that Bloodsire has said a lot of really cool things about different formats and different potentials on the TFTV forums, and I haven't read through all of those threads. So I know, though, at least at some point, you know, he kicked around the idea of 5-person 5CP. In my opinion, though, when we tried that, and overall, it's just really brutal. You know, 5CP and 6s, you know, it's kind of notorious for, you know, if you have a new player, and you jump into the game, and if you just like die, if that's like what you contribute to your team, you just like die, then you're just not going to be very helpful at all. You know, you're giving your team a major disadvantage because of the fact that you're dead, and your other 5 teammates, if they're good, they still, you know, might not be able to persevere through that. And, you know, with 5 people, losing one person is even more of a major impact. And it's a larger percentage of your team. And if you have that skill gap with one person, or just the way that you guys are, you know, moving around the map, or positioning with each other, or the openings, or covering these different zones, 5CP is tough with smaller numbers. And the Arena Respawn format, you know, definitely has that like pace of action of just mid-fight, and I think it still carries a lot of the spirit of TF2, which is good. Definitely.
Huge contribution right there.
Yeah, and you know, the open whitelist 6s thing, I guess to talk on that, you know, and I guess overall, again, with you know, Arena Respawn, ProBattleLeague, you know, you guys are building your own small community. Yeah, we'll transition to some topics here, but you know, with Arena Respawn, we're our own format. You know, it was like Highlander back in the day, where people were kind of trashing Highlander. And Highlander now is a super major, huge thing. And we probably would have gotten it a little bit more into depth about Highlander tonight if Stabby was here. But the Highlander community has grown to be a fantastic thing. Arena Respawn community is still growing, still working on it. And, you know, with matchmaking, it'll be really interesting to see how things end up. And I think the 6s community could still, you know, be that premier format for TF2. It could just... you know, with readjustments to it could just be, you know, kind of irrelevant to even develop Arena Respawn. but it's so tough to say, and nobody really knows right now how Class Limit 2 Open Whitelist is going to turn out. And we had some conversations with TF2 Center, so hopefully TF2 Center will be adapting that play style. And I mean, Kyle, you've watched a lot of Arena Respawn, maybe more Arena Respawn than Sixes. Like, what do you think, though, with some of the items and weapons that we've seen in Arena Respawn? What do you think that we'll see in the Sixes environment, and especially if there's 2 classes allowed? What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, the big thing is that there's a lot of involvement that people can actually play what they want to play. So we're seeing that the Thompson is a huge factor in Arena Respawn, and being able to run that and deny overcharge is pretty big. We saw a big play last month from Mystical, who was able to deny the Uber that when they were pushing onto the point on Viaduct, and that cost them ultimately the game when they were denied that Uber charge. So I think there's a lot of cool plays and a lot of items that haven't been given a real shot that we'll see some really cool synergies come out of. The short circuit is another one we see a lot, and that one's still up in the air as if it's actually an acceptable weapon from a lot of people. But it does force you to change your strategies and think about the game a little bit differently. Like that Thompson, you have to keep your heavy in front of your medic, or else you are going to lose your Uber.
Yeah,
and that's probably my favorite example.
Yeah, and I think that Valve, when we were up there and Jay or somebody kind of questioned them, they're just like, do you want all classes to be equal? And they're like, no, but I mean, that means they acknowledge like Devilman is the strongest class, like medics are really, really strong. They still want this situationality. And over in Europe, I've filled my schedule up pretty healthily, so I don't think I'll be contributing to European TFTV cast, but there's definitely a possibility I might hop in for some Thursday night in Europe action, Thursday day here. And I would like to see how their Sixes whitelist is going to develop with the Power Jack, because that's one of those examples of strategies. And also, again, this ties into some of these issues that were like, Robin brought up 2 years ago. And, it's this little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and certainly the Arena Respawn and the Short Circuit follows in this category as well, where the top pro players are going to be annoyed by any strategy that forces them to change off of their strategy that's their winning strategy.
Yep, like adding a second basket to the basketball.
Yeah.
On the same end of the court, like, okay, there's 2 options now, so that's a huge change.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that the players haven't had to change and adapt to in years. Or
even another good example might be, something less extreme, but something like the football hit adjustment rules, where some of the defensive players or offensive players are upset about it because they can't lower their shoulders and the tacklers or whatever it is now. They have to make adjustments, and they're complaining about it even though the rules were put in place for their benefit. And I think that some of these rules are transitions that we're trying to put into place are for the benefit of the game overall. And, Valve has been developing Team Fortress for a long time. For 15 years, they've been in charge of it. Robin Walker passing the torch to other people. And stuff like the Short Circuit is interesting. I think it does need a mechanic to, adjust it. But, if you're talking the Sixes, the way that Sixes is played now, like, you definitely can use more stuff and strengths for the engineer to do. And stuff as well, like the mini sentries, that are banned. Those are kind of strategies that are disruptive and make you adjust things and change, the scenario of like, well, Scout is just like the best thing ever. And then you throw a mini sentry engineer like running around Badlands mid, and people are just like, that weapon's so lame because you can't run Scout against it. So
we'll run a sniper.
Yeah,
that's usually the counter that we see.
Yeah. I mean, sniper against the engineer works great. You also just change the role that your scout's doing if you just want to play scout. Yep. The whipped players to mid, is something that like has been banned, and it's just banned because of like heavy, but we're not even like guaranteed that that's what we're gonna see or that's what's gonna happen with it. You know, it's such this unknown with the items, and with class limit 2 as well. Like, man, I don't think anybody can really conceptualize what, you know, double medics could do for the game, particularly if double medics is something that like you don't have to run all the time. You know, if there's situations where you are pushing last and they have like one medic, an engineer, and a heavy weapons guy, and you push in with Uber charge and kind of like a soft push, and they use Uber and like block it, and then you push back in with crits like right afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, strats like that, you know, like seem like a possibility.
There's a lot of strats from like Dota and League of Legends and things like that I can follow a little bit more because I'm better at those games than I am TF2 actually. But you can play like double support and really have one person just get crazy fed or crazy buffed or anything like that, and give them all the support they need, but you also lose that damage that might be necessary at some points. So there's that trade. It's all trying to fit into a larger strategy instead of just running in and shooting people.
Yeah, I mean, we could see 2 demo, 2 medic, scout, soldier, you know, and basically you have like 2 independent threesomes.
I just want the double quick fix on a heavy.
that damn quick fix. It definitely excited. You know, I think that some of this matchmaking stuff overall, I think that we're gonna see it, and not like the super far future. I think that, you know, it might be surprising when we see it roll out. But then again, I mean, we went up there a month ago, and it feels like a while. Stuff definitely takes a while to develop. You know, we haven't heard anything about a open beta or anything like that, or a closed beta or anything like that. There was one comment in our chat, and definitely in this show overall, we want to bring in some user advice. I don't know if we're ready to go with listening to call-ins just tonight, but definitely this show and part of the whole point of this effort is to have call-ins. But taking some stuff from the chat, and Nissan V2 asking, excited about Spy versus NG. So kind of switching gears here a little bit, and you know what? Yeah, like I'm definitely excited for that sort of stuff. Matchmaking just kind of makes all that stuff a little bit more easier to swallow. You know, it's like, you know, the power of play and talking about Guild Wars and their take on eSports. I would be very annoyed if I was a Guild War PvP player and that was my jam and that was what I wanted to play every single day, and they just completely ignored it, you know, and I would completely get me jaded on regular content. But, you know, if matchmaking was supported, I think I'd be even more excited for holiday seasonal events, because they probably would tie it together, at least in some sense, or, you know, drops going over it and whatnot. And, you know, we've needed matchmaking for a long time, but before that, all this stuff that Valve does with these events and whatnot is awesome. If I had, you know, all the world play video games, I'd be playing some MVM TF2. I would throw that in the mix. I like MVM. Kyle, have you gotten down much on MVM?
I played a little bit of MVM.
Yeah. Right.
It's definitely a lot of fun. The PvE experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different world of TF2, but it's got some fun stuff in there that you can't do anywhere else. And the class war kind of stuff, when they did sniper versus spy and soldier versus engineer, were so awesome. Like, having that kind of meta game going on amongst all of the pub servers was amazing, basically.
Yeah, I'm very excited for matchmaking. There's so much information that can be gathered once a matchmaking system's in place.
Yeah.
That I feel like TF2 will grow immensely and then continue to grow after that because of matchmaking.
Yeah, I think we're going to get into a whole new era of item balance. Because, you know, stuff like the short circuit, you know, it's an interesting concept, but as executed right now, it is obnoxious. The Beggar's Bazooka is another one where, like, as executed right now, it is ridiculously strong.
Yeah, we saw some of that played last night, and it was just destroying the enemy team.
Yeah, yeah. There's balances though for sure as well, because I mean, especially I just picked those 2 items out of air, but I know that one match we were having a lot of issues with it on the burnsiders, and then it was just one of those like, wait a second, like we're just getting chewed up, like because we're just like running into this hail of spam that we know is coming, and we have an engineer, or we could run an engineer with short circuit, and we're not doing it.
Yep.
You know, so especially in arena respawn, you have to be mindful of that stuff. If we get into 2 demo man scenarios, short circuit engineer could be really, really strong. It's very scenario oriented right now, but definitely, you know, Valve and their ability to look at stats, which they value very highly. If they see that engineers are always running the short circuit over anything, you know, then they're going to make adjustments there. They definitely should be able to look at stats fairly detailed as well. You know, what classes are coming out when the 5 CPs are controlled in different settings. It should be real good for Valve and them getting information to work with. So TF2, we got Highlander coming up next week, Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be doing the coverage of that, running the production myself. We're going to be having Sigafu and Grizz as the casters, so very excited about that. Excited to kick that back up. And you know, we do need to make some adjustments to our Patreon. We're just kind of relaunching stuff. I talked about some of that stuff in our vlog. But hopefully with that restructure, that can kind of allow us to do some larger events and to have, you know, an impact on some events like the GXL, which the GXL is definitely some months away, and things are kind of wide open. But I mean, lands and lands overall for North America, I definitely want to be a little bit more involved in supporting them. There was the Florida land, obviously fights as well, which I didn't make it out to this year, unfortunately. There's some stuff about maybe something in Chicago. There was lands in Phoenix. Lands all over the place, Kyle.
Lands all over the place. West Coast is definitely hopping with lands as well coming up here in the near future.
Yeah, they actually just announced a Land Fest in Portland. I'm curious if tickets sold out to that yet, because the Land Fest tend to sell out pretty quickly here. And this 120, oh yeah, they sold out. Oh, no, never mind that. Maybe this is like really old page.
That's the problem with some of the Land Fest stuff, is that it's always hard to tell
what
is the most current info.
Actually, they have not sold out. So June 19th through June 21st, Northwest Land Fest. Let me see if I can pull up how many tickets are still open here.
I'm very excited.
Oh, 70 tickets remaining, so maybe
cool.
The Burnsiders will rally some folks out there. Kyle, have you tried Dirty Bomb yet? Let's maybe just...
I still have not tried any Dirty Bomb.
Okay,
no,
okay.
I've been pretty wrapped up with this whole AR thing. I have seen you play it quite a bit.
Yeah, we'll see.
I know you have a passion for games like that.
Yeah, we'll see if I can throw it on. I mean, bring it up. You know, at the top of the show, we might talk about a few different esports topics, and you know, FPSs. That's part of the future of TF2 and the future of TF2 being so bright. Kyle and myself more so via telephone. You know, we've talked with a lot of sponsors, and we've definitely run into the case of people being like, yeah, like we see all the success that Counter-Strike's having, but we don't really want to promote realistic violence, like realistic gun warfare in bombed out cities featuring terrorists and counter-terrorists, you know, and you're like, okay.
There's definitely a less positive light to that style of game over TF2 or some of the other, like League of Legends and Dota. They're very much whimsical and mystical style games where it's cartoony enough that it's not real.
Yeah, there's also
kind of disconnect.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's also reasons why like Civil War reenactments aren't sponsored by Coke, you know. So that aspect does kind of tie into Dirty Bomb, where sponsor-wise, I'm sure that they'll pick things up, but TF2 has this aspect that other shooters aren't really bringing to the table. Dirty Bomb as well, I've had a lot of fun with it so far. I mean, they're getting into open beta. I encourage people to check it out if you like shooters. It's got its background in enemy territory, basically created from those splash damage guys. And it's a really, really good execution of that game and that concept. Team Fortress 2 community members might famously remember Brink, which was hyped as killing TF2. Yeah, did you play a little bit of Brink, Kyle?
I played it for about 5 seconds and realized that they overhyped the crap out of that game.
Oh man, it was so terrible. Yeah. You know, so I think there's some things that kind of just I bring all this up because it does tie into the future of TF2 as we have a few minutes left here. You know, and you know, Brink was hyped as this game to kill TF2, and was terrible. You know, they just failed in the execution, and there was, yeah, like Dirty Bomb did everything Brink should have done right, you know. And if Dirty Bomb had the aesthetics of Brink and the parkour of Brink, and everything else was Dirty Bomb, it would be even more successful. Because I do think that Brink actually had a fairly decent aesthetic and look going, and it also, the parkour system, I believe, is actually superior to son of a bitch. Superior to Dirty Bomb's. Dirty Bomb's jumping is a little bit weird. Dirty Bomb's gunplay is probably better though, and Dirty Bomb just really captures that enemy territory stopwatch map format that, like, you're just pushing objectives. Every map is like unique and has cool stuff, and it's all stopwatch. It's such a cool game, but like looking at the difficulties of them and how far they're gonna have to go to, you know, really achieve the level of success that competitive TF2 already has is kind of crazy. They got a long ways to go, and then on top of that, on top of that, 10 minutes, or sorry, $10 per hero, and I think that's a lot, Kyle.
Ooh, that is expensive. That's Heroes of the Storm price right there.
I think it's even more expensive than Heroes of the Storm. And the other thing on top of that is they have changed some of the rates of credit earns, and they have made things better. But with Dirty Bomb, like, it might be a lot of grinding, and that's something that is a major turnoff to me in all games. And that's even a concern of mine of TF2. And I know that I think other people in the competitive community, as well as the Valve team, they don't really see that as an issue in terms of players obtaining items and stuff in TF2. And, you know, I just really love the Dota format, that's why I'm concerned about it in TF2, but they're not nearly as extreme as Dirty Bomb, where Dirty Bomb has cool characters, it's got the free rotation, but the credits and the unlocks seems a little steep. Everything else, though, is super, super cool. Well, Kyle, any final thoughts from you, or anything you want to run down the times and when we're going to restart that arena respawn real quick?
Yeah. So June 10th is when registrations are closed. So 11:59 p.m. on June 9th, you have to have your teams locked in, and you should see everything coming out this morning, as far as posts on TF2 forums and things like that. That'll take you back to battleleague.com, so you can get some more information about the tournament and when the matches will be, and sign up your team. But all the matches are going to be Tuesday and Thursday, the last 2 weeks of the month. So that's the 16th, the 18th, the 23rd, and the 25th are the matches. So if anyone's interested in participating in that, you can get a team of 5 together. And we are putting one restriction on it, that regionality is kind of a thing that PBL is pushing. So we are splitting the teams up by East and West, so we can get a good rivalry between the two coasts. Go in there, and other than that, form your teams up and come play with us.
Yeah. The EGO tournament was definitely a lot of fun. The Arena Respawn monthly stuff that we've been doing so far has been a lot of fun. I look forward to getting more people in there and that level of competition kicking up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is 9:30 here on the West Coast. We're looking to stick pretty close to our 30-minute block here. Definitely appreciate you joining us for the first relaunched version of Extra Vision. As well, we are back, and we're going to be doing this every week, not slowing down, you know, not doing it unless there's a really good reason. Otherwise, you know, Keeker DC, the main man behind mm1.fm, will probably join in our absence. Gizmo will probably be poking his head in here, particularly if StabbyStabby oversleeps again. Gizmo's the man on backup. And yeah, that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not even going to let Gizmo say goodbye because we are wrapping up right now. We are over our limit. Thanks so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, for listening, for tuning in. I am eXtine. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Bye, guys.